Hey guys, good morning. It's Tony. So I had a lot of confusion, a lot of comments telling me like, "Hey, how can you be, you just said that you were scared of the crypto market and stuff, and how can you say that we're going to 55K, but then say we can drop down to 30,000 again?" So, I try to make my last video as simple as possible, and I think I'll try to simplify it again. Um, I'll get rid of these forecasts because I haven't really messed with the chart since the last video. But essentially, what I'm letting you guys know is that there's such thing as being bullish long term and bearish short term, or bearish long term and bullish short term, right? So it's really just about looking at lower time frames and looking at what the market structure is, and looking at what the moves are, right? So for example, usually like on the daily, on the 4 hour, on the 1 hour chart, and anything below that, it tends to be a shorter swing set of moves. So for example, on the daily, you can basically look like, you can basically look at the structure, right? You ran up, you went down, you ran up, you went down. It looks like you might see another possible run up equal to this, equal from the run up of July 21st to like July 31st. Again, August 4th to like August 14th, and you might see another run up from August 18th up to like 55K, which is the equivalent part of this and the equivalent part of this run up, right? A little bit smaller, because usually when we tend to run up like this on crypto, you have the biggest push in the first in the first section, in the first cycle. Then you have the second push that's not quite as big, and the third push is actually smaller. So you can see Bitcoin, instead of moving the same amount as this, you can actually see it slow down to like 50K, possibly maybe to like maybe 55K or so, whatever, right? But in short, looking at time frames on the daily or anything lower is definitely shorter term versus looking at the weekly or the monthly, where you can really base very, very, very heavy reversals, right? So what I basically told you guys, or what I was talking about in my last video, why I think Bitcoin is going to 55K, is because on the daily, it still looks like we can have another solid push towards the upside, right? The chart looks bearish. It looks like it's about to break on the bullish side all over again, right? So I can definitely see us running up to 50K, possibly 55K within the next maybe like today by like 1 o'clock p.m. I can see Bitcoin starting that run up towards 55K sometime today. And again, that's a short term forecast. Longer term forecast, for example, I'll go on the weekly, right? The candles are based off of weeks. Every single candle you see here is based off of one trading week, right? Which is 7 days for crypto, or 5 days in the stock market. And what I'm essentially letting you guys know is that we can see sort of like weaker bear. My reverse MACD is based off of momentum and how strong of a push or how strong of a bear pullback we can possibly see, right? So these little red candles that you see in the bottom, the blood red ones, these show a very strong indication of bull pushes towards the upside. I actually have a reverse MACD. Instead of like telling you like, hey, buy here, it actually tells you, hey, sell your longs, because because bear momentum is getting a lot stronger. So that's basically the indication that's telling me here, right? We actually had our first week of like weak bullish movement back on July 12th, that week, and again we're seeing that same sort of weekend bull market this week, right? We're actually going to close this week candle in another day and 12 hours. But you can look at the candles that we've seen from the previous run up, and this specific candle is actually going to be weaker than the rest of the candles, right? The last time we had an instance of a weak bull movement was right here, when we had a bear week close right here on the bottom, right over the 33K support. And again, the reason we're actually closing weekend bull is because we're not closing, right? But we might close. There's like a high chance, because we only have about a day left on this candle. But you can see that the candle difference is quite big from the start, from the first three candle pushes to now, right? You can see that there's obvious movement here, right? This one was from 31 to 35, so 4,000 move up. Same thing, roughly same thing here, roughly same thing here. And then you see from 44 up to 46. So now you're only seeing maybe a 2,000-3,000 push instead of $4,000 continuous candle pushes, right? And now it's even weaker now because you have 47 and the candle closes at 49. So now you have almost exactly a $2,000 weak candle push, right? Which is indicating a weaker movement to the upside. And what I'm trying to say is that, for the most part, is on the monthly. Technically, on the monthly chart, we're still in a bearish cycle, right? We're weak and bearish, right? But technically, we're still in a bearish cycle. We started that bear cycle back in May, and as a lot of you guys know, I actually started shorting the market back like in April. I started shorting Bitcoin back in April. But what I'm letting you guys know is longer term, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I do expect the week to actually start potentially looking at closing a bear week. And what I mean by that is, once we see this would be the very, very, very first time that Bitcoin closes a bear week while under a monthly bear cycle. So you guys can see this green vertical line that I created here. This is actually where the month started, right? This is actually where the drop started on the month. And where we actually saw that continuous drop, right? So the very first instance would probably be right here in the start of March 22nd, that week of. It would be like before the actual month closed. You guys can see the drop here, right? But the first instance of us being in a bear cycle and seeing a week close is probably somewhere around here. It's probably going to be late August, early September. And the only thing that I'm letting you guys know is that every single time that we've created a bear week close, or that we closed the bear week, we've dropped a pretty decent amount. Like the last time in 2020, we dropped a 60% drop, right? And again, you guys can see this green vertical line. That's the start of the monthly cycle. And then the red vertical line, is the end of the bear cycle, right? And that week, this white line is actually the very first instance where it created a weak close for the first time. And then you see that drop again. Same thing here, right? I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. Whoops. So people understand what I'm talking about. This green vertical line was that instance of the bear cycle actually starting. This red line is where that bear cycle ended, right? After this red line, this is where you see that big run up towards the upside. And again, this white line right here, this vertical line, is the very first time we closed a week on the bear side, and you see a drop of 32%. And I'm gonna go back probably a lot more just to give you guys more information, because right now I only have it set it to 2018, which is only about like 3 years ago. But keep in mind, like I said, this is technically, if we do close a bear week within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and keep in mind, this is just a forecast, right? It can be a month from now, it could be a month from the half. I'm just forecasting what I think can happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying that's what I'm forecasting. It looks like it might close a bear week in the next 2 to 3 weeks or so, right? By late August, early September, maybe. And I'm just giving you guys information of why I think we can possibly see another nosedive, on crypto, and completely the same thing, right? Because if we close a bear week on crypto, keep in mind we still haven't broken previous highs, right? So we can do something like this, right? We can actually start a trend where it's 55. So we can probably do something like this where you actually have crypto run all the way to 55, and then it drops all the way back down again because it created that bear week and everything kind of sold off, right? So that's what I'm letting you guys know. So you can probably run up to like here, and then you have a continuous drop all the way back down here, right? So that can happen where you create a lower high right there, and now guess what? An official downtrend, and you have an official trend officially started now, right? That's the problem. The problem is this can happen. The problem is you can have a rejection from 55K that can possibly be the top if the week actually closes bearish, and then you can see a drop all the way back down to like 30K, because roughly we're forecasting based off of historical drops, right? So there's no reason for me to guess, hey, I think we're going down to 48,000 because of so-and-so reason. I think we're going down to 39K for so-and-so reason. No, there's specific data that you should follow, and there's specific patterns in Bitcoin that you should follow. Go back into every instance where you have sort of similar patterns, and look at the historical drops. You can have a drop right here of 30%. You can have a drop right here of 40%. You can have a drop right here of 45%, right? Get all of those, take the average of what it is, right? That's how you're going to be the most accurate. Statistically, you guys know that I try to use logic and statistics on my channel of what the highest probability we can probably find, right? And this is what my job is. My job is basically statistics at work. So I try to use statistics and just kind of give you guys the most informative way of like, hey, if we drop, we can possibly go down to here, and know that I base this off of years and years of historical data that's happened in some sort of relevant way, right? So, and it's played out well for me, right? Like it's most of the time I tend to be accurate, or I try to be as accurate as possible. But I'm saying that Bitcoin can definitely short term rally to up here, but longer term, keep in mind, like I said, the weekly, if it closes bearish, this will be the first time that Bitcoin closes bearish under a monthly bear cycle, which is the problem. We've seen that happen before here. We've seen that before here. We've seen that happen before here. And I can definitely give you guys examples of like back since like 2010 and stuff. But again, that's why I said I wanted to make this clear, so that people aren't like, oh, you were bullish on, you said you were bearish on crypto, or blah blah blah. Like what's going on? And I'm like, you're only doing this to not sound wrong when it doesn't happen. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you guys exactly what I think is going to happen. I think short term we're going to go to 55K maybe, and then drop. But it all depends on how the weekly closes, right? This week, this can definitely go super bullish again, right? And we can rally all the way up to all-time highs, which is what I want. I want crypto to go up, but I can't base this off of emotion, right? I have to base this off of data, and that's usually what I base off all my TAs of. It's just data and general historic performance. You have to keep into mind, nothing in the market happens coincidentally, right? There are obvious patterns, right, in the market. So yeah, this is what I think can happen short term. I think we can go to 55. Look at where the weekly is actually at that point, like around late August, early September, and then we can kind of decide. But if by late August, early September, we're nearing maybe all-time highs like this, and then we actually go a little bit higher than that, I think the chances of us pushing towards the upside is super big if we actually manage to beat previous all-time highs. But if we rally to like, if we close a bear week somewhere anything under 64.9 or like $65,000 for Bitcoin, there's a strong chance that we're going to see a heavy pullback of like somewhere between 30 to 60% in like, I don't know how long did it take, right? The second one was 14 days. The next one was 28 days. So immediately, minimum, you can expect that to happen minimum at least 15 days out from that close, right? So I would guess maybe like a month or two, you can possibly see a downturn like that, right? In a month or two, you can possibly see a drop like down to like 33K or around the same range right here. But yeah, that's essentially it, right? Like I have to forecast ahead of time and basically say, hey, yeah, I think short term we can still go up to the upside, and longer term, looking at the weekly and monthly chart, those are for like longer plays. If we keep up this weekend bull momentum towards the upside, I can definitely see us dropping a whole bunch if we do end up closing a bear week for crypto. So I hope this video explained it a little bit better. I know TA is a little bit hard to understand when you're new to it, so I try to do my best on this channel to explain it as easy as I possibly can, and kind of lay out everything visually as easy as I can, so that everybody can understand it. So I hope you guys have a great day, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys later. Bye.